How is my wife and my baby? He gulped in nervousness when the doctor sighed and shook her head. The defeated look on her face made his stomach churn with uneasiness. She is fine, Mr. Kim, but we couldn't save the baby. He had already lost his life when she was brought here. Tears pooled in his eyes. He stumbled back and slumped down on the bench behind. The pain of losing his child again left him vulnerable, but more than that, the fear of witnessing his wife's broken state once again overpowered his senses. The doctor looked at him with pity. She knew about your history of miscarriages and also about your devastated state after every loss. She excused herself and left. How will I tell this to Ryan? Why us? Tears started falling from his eyes. His body shook with every sob. Taehyung, hearing his name being called out, he looked up. Through his hazy vision, he noticed his father standing in front of him. Next to him was your father. They both looked at him with sad eyes as they had a conversation with the doctor on their way. Dad, Ryan, he choked on his sobs. Taking a seat beside him, his father engulfed him in his arms. The young sobs muffled against his shoulder as he wept, letting his pain out in the form of tears. It's okay, let it out. His voice was filled with empathy and compassion. He raised his head, a silent gesture of understanding and support. The young snuggled against his fatherly warmth, seeking comfort like a child seeks a safe place when they are scared. The father occupied the seat next to him. With tender touch, he reached out, gently placing his hand on Taehyung's shoulder. Feeling his touch, he parted away from his father's embrace and looked at his father-in-law. He wiped his tears as something clicked his mind. Appa, how is Amma? He inquired about his mother-in-law who fainted a while ago. She is fine, your mother is with her. He responded, looking at his son in law with amusement and sadness. Even in this condition, when he himself was suffering, he didn't forget to ask about others. He felt proud of his daughter's choice. Son, everything will be fine. We are here for you, for Ryan. I don't care about me, Appa. But I'm scared for Ryan. I can't see her breaking down again. I can't. His face contorted with grief. His eyes sparkled with tears of pain. Even the thought of his wife's depressing state sent chills down his spine. Both the fathers were heartbroken seeing their children's miserable condition. If they could, they would have taken away their pain within a blink of eye. But they were helpless. Fate was something nobody could fight with, be it the dead kid's father or the suffering children's fathers. A whimper escaped your lips as you slowly gained your senses. The typical hospital smell hit your nostrils. The slight hum of machineries and tick-tock of wall clock filled the air. Slowly opening your eyes, you blinked twice to adjust with the brightness. You stared at the ceiling in daze. As you slowly came out of your daze and adjusted to the current scenario, some heart-clenching scene flashed before your eyes. My baby. You swallowed audibly as your trembling hands reached out to your baby pump. Your breathing stuck in your throat, heartbeat accelerated when your palm came in contact with your flat belly. A sudden emptiness coursed through your veins. A sheen of warm tears covered your eyes. My baby, you mumbled and a sob escaped your lips, followed by more. Tears escaped from the corner of your eyes, damping the pillow beneath. Your cries became more loud and frequent with time. Your cries disturbed Taehyung, who was sleeping on the chair, keeping his head beside yours. As he opened his eyes, your sobbing face came in his line of vision. Jolting up from his spot, he held your hand and leaned closer to you. Van, what happened? Are you okay? He lamented, though he knew about the reason of your cries. You shifted your gaze at him and tried to sit up. Don't. He gently pushed you back by your shoulders, but you stubbornly tried to get up again. Okay, let me help you. He pushed a button that was attached to the bed and its upper part slowly rose high, supporting your body in half-sitting position. Taehyung, baby. You whispered, tears rolling down from the corner of your eyes. There was still a tiny hope that maybe, just maybe, your baby made it out alive. Maybe this time you were not unlucky. Maybe this time you wouldn't have to go through the same pain again, but hopes came crashing down when he looked away. He noticed a lone tear slipping from his eyes. However, a mother's heart knows no boundaries. Gulping the lump that formed in your throat, you clutched his shirt in your palms and tugged at it. Our baby is alive, right? Say something, Taehyung. You vigorously shook him by his shirt. Your breathing accelerated when he slowly shook his head. Your grip on his shirt loosened and your hand fell on the bed. Your eyes turned blank and expressions became unreadable. You are lying. You're lying. I don't believe you. I don't. You mumbled and shook your head. You harshly removed the IV attached to your vein, and a small amount of blood stained your skin. Kicking off the blanket, you stood on your feet. As you tried to step forward, you stumbled and about to fall down, but Taehyung rushed towards you and held you by your shoulders before you could touch the floor. His eyes were wide in shock. Your actions were too fast and harsh that he didn't get the time to process. Are you crazy? What do you think you were doing? You are not well, Ryan. He made you sit on the edge of the bed. You looked at him with glossy eyes, but your expressions hardened when you remembered something. You gritted your teeth and harshly pushed him. He stumbled back due to the sudden force. He was about to fall on the ground but somehow balanced himself. Ryan would he again approached you, but you yanked his hands. Don't touch me. Stay away from me. You panted heavily and got on your feet, holding the bed for support. He looked at you with hurt in his eyes. Hearing the commotion, Yor and his parents walked inside. You are the reason I lost my baby. I lost him because of you. Only if you had come on time, my baby would be alive. Taehyung's heart sank to his stomach. Your accusing gaze bored through his hurt-filled eyes. If seeing you broken state was painful, then you blaming him for his own child's demise was like death for him. You said you will protect me and baby, but when we needed you the most, you didn't come. You sobbed and slumped on the bed. Your father stepped towards you. Ryan, I know you are in pain. You are going through a lot, but you can't blame anyone. Taeyong, he is not up by you. You are taking his side. Don't you love your daughter anymore? I am not taking anyone's side. I am saying you cut him off by standing up. I understand. I understood very well. I am leaving. I don't want to stay here. Before you could take one step further, your father stopped you by holding your arm. Don't be stubborn, Ryan. You are not well, physically and mentally. Rest here. Though his voice was calm, he sounded stern. He made you sit on your previous spot. If he will stay here, then I will leave. Tell him to leave. You pointed at Taehyung. He looked at you with teary eyes and gulped down the pain he felt at that moment. When I'm leaving, you rest here. He spoke with great difficulty. You lay down on the bed, back facing him. He stayed at your back and moved towards the door, giving an assurance look to you and his parents. He swallowed his tears and walked out. He closed the door and leaned against the adjacent wall. Don't take her words to hurt the young. She is not in the right state of mind. He reassured himself and closed his eyes. He slowly opened his eyes when he felt warm touch on his shoulders. He noticed his father and father-in-law standing either side of him. Taehyung, Pa, she is not in the right state of mind. I understand. I'm fine. Don't worry. He gave them a weak smile. They sighed helplessly. It's been 3 weeks since you discharged from the hospital. You refused to go back with him, so your parents brought you with them. Even in the hospital, you didn't let him come close to you. However, he used to sneak in when you would be sleeping and stared at you as if your presence was enough to minimize his pain. Though deep down you knew he wasn't at fault, but you were adamant on blaming him. It's human nature. When our pain gets too intense to endure, we tend to find an escape. Sometimes this escape can be putting on someone, accusing someone for our suffering. But during all that, we forget that we are hurting someone dear to our heart. Every other day, you were cocooned under the blanket, crying your heart out. It was as if crying had become a part of your routine. Clutching the sonograms of your child closer to heart, you made a futile attempt to grasp the reality. But how could you leave the reality when it felt like death every second? Very alive mother inside you still believed that it was a bad dream. The morning was yet to come, and when you would wake up, your baby would be in your arms, real and alive. Your cries stopped abruptly when you heard a knock on the door. The blanket from your face and wiped your tears. Who is there? Somewhere in the corner of your mind, you knew who was there at that time. Wine, sweetheart, open the door. Taehyung wants to meet you. Let him in. Clenching your jaw, you sat upright. Tell him to leave. I don't want to see his face. Also, tell him to stop coming here. He is hurting me with his presence. You gulped as you let out those harsh words. You knew he was on the other side of the door, hearing your each and every word. You heard the faint sound of footsteps going away from there. You fell back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. A lone tear left from the corner of your eyes. In the process of venting out your sorrow, you were hurting him, and more than that, you were hurting yourself. Taehyung's parents and your father stood up as your mother stepped inside the living room along with Taehyung. She shook her head helplessly and sighed. Again the same reply. I am going to talk to her. I have had enough. We know she is suffering, but that doesn't mean we will endure her stubbornness. This is too much now. Taehyung stood in front of him and shook his head. You know she is not well. Let's give her some time. Who is refusing to give her time, Taehyung? We are here supporting her at every step, but her behavior towards you is unacceptable. I don't mind anything as long as she is releasing her frustration. Isn't it better than losing herself? If she became like before, I would lose myself too. He swallowed his tears as he recalled the times when you looked like a living corpse, breathing but not living. The elderly man sighed and rubbed his face in exhaustion. I have called her brother and told him about her condition. He is coming tomorrow. Let's just hope, if not us, at least she listens to him. You were following your new routine, crying under the blanket, when someone snatched it from you. With a frown marring your face, you lifted your blurry gaze, and noticed a tall man standing beside the bed. It didn't take long for you to recognize him. Jungkook, you whispered and got off the bed. He opened his arms and you wasted no time in throwing your fragile body in his embrace. He engulfed you in a bigger hug and kissed your head. Jungkook, I lost him again. You wept on his chest. His own eyes welled up with warm tears hearing your painful cries. He stroked your head, trying his best to provide you as much comfort as possible. Stop crying, big sister. You had cried enough. Stop deteriorating your health, whispered as he parted away and wiped her tears, which kept falling non-stop. Your pale face, dark circles under your bloodshot eyes, and thin fragile body made you look even more vulnerable. Mom said you are not eating well. Dad was complaining that you have become really stubborn. I have heard a lot of complaints about you. You know how it feels when someone bewails about your sister ka mother. He made us you sit on the bed and knelt down in front of you. But there is one person who didn't say a word. You know who that is? Your dear husband. He didn't say anything, whereas you should be the first one to doing it. Nibbled on your lower lip and looked away. He killed my baby. I don't want any relationship with him. Let out a dry chuckle and squeezed your hands, prompting you to look at him. Do you think I'm a fool? I would believe it like others did. I know how much you love the Young Hyung. Without throwing any tantrums, tell me the truth. Dare to say nothing. A shaky sigh slipped past your lips, and you downcasted your eyes, which filled with tears all over again. He deserves better, Jungkook. Almost 8 years of our marriage, and what I gave him? 5 miscarriages. My disturbed mental state, years of grief. I have made him a babysitter. Why and this, why and that. He always say this. He always prioritized me over himself. Never, not even once he shared his pain with me. Do you think he will leave you after this? You contemplated for some time and hesitantly bobbed your head. If not today, then after some day he will give up and move on. I have hurted him enough. He deserved to live a happy life, away from the clutches of my miseries. Your heart clenched by the thought of leaving him, but you were doing it for his own good. Or that's what you thought. You know, I don't call you idiot for nothing. You actually are. When your husband didn't give up on you when you yourself had given up, do you think he will give up now? 8 years. Never gave up in these 8 years. And you think he will give up in mere 21 days? Such a fool you are. Nona, in the process of giving him a happy future, you are hurting him the most. He can conquer anything when you are with him, but you are someone he can't fight with. That's why, despite your room being unlocked, he knocks on the door and returns back with a heavy heart. You press your lips to control your sobs. You are concerned about him, nice, but you are no one to decide for him. You alone can't decide about your relationship. If he does share, you ask him. If he prioritizes you, you prioritize him. Just like he didn't give up on you, don't give on yourself. He placed a kiss on your palm and smiled at you. Don't blame yourself for the loss. It was written in your fate. Nobody can change it. Try to move on from this feeling of emptiness. I know it's not easy, but it's not impossible. And about child, I'm always there for you. From childhood, you kept saying you raised me. It's time that you officially adopt me. He mumbled and placed his head on your lap. You chuckled through your tears and kissed his head. You have grown up. You are not my little brother anymore. Lifted his head and narrowed his eyes. I'm still your brother. It's just I'm not little anymore. I'm a man now. That's why I have a girlfriend. Blurted out in flow. Later, widened his eyes when realization washed over him. Smiled nervously when you raised your eyebrows at him. You have a girlfriend and you didn't tell me. Looked down and played with your fingers. I want to, but guilt fell inside you. He didn't tell you because you were not in right condition. You felt really bad for not being available for your brother. You were not only his sister but his best friend. He used to approach you for every small or big thing. I'm sorry. I'm such a bad sister. I wasn't there for you. Yes, you are bad that you are talking like this, and you will be worst if you didn't help me introducing her to my parents. Once you sort out your problems with Hyung, I will take you to meet her. You sighed and looked down. I can't. I don't have the courage to face him. He stood up and pulled you to get up as well. Guiding you towards a mirror, he stood behind you. Look in the mirror. You see this woman? I know she looks ugly, but she is the strongest woman I have ever seen. But she is unaware of one thing. Her husband loves her a lot. Maybe she can't see it, but we all can. It's clearly visible by the way he looks at her. All she have to do is approach him. Rest he will handle. You sobbed and stared at him through the mirror. I'm not ugly. I didn't say you are ugly. You yourself think like this. At least you know the truth. You hit him on his shoulder and hugged him. He chuckled and hugged you back, swaying you from side to side. Looking around, he caught the sight of his parents peeking inside, gave them a reassuring smile, and placed a pack on your head. Stepping inside the living room, you were welcomed by the sight of Taehyung sleeping on the couch. Your heart picked its pace as you slowly stepped towards him. Sensing someone's presence, he lazily opened his eyes. You froze on your spot when your eyes met his. You expected him to jolt up in surprise, but he just stared at you. How long? How long are you going to stay this time? You frowned when he uttered those words. I know you are my hallucination. You will disappear as soon as I will try to hold you. Just leave. Don't torment me anymore. Long tears slipped from your eyes when he turned his face away and closed his eyes. See, when I'll open my eyes, you will be go. His words stuck in his throat when he opened his eyes and saw you standing in front of him. Bending down to his level, you smiled through your tears. I didn't disappear, you whispered. With shaking hands, he reached out, gently tracing your cheek with his fingers. As your warm skin came in contact with his cold ones, he gasped audibly. You are real? You hummed and nodded. Wyan, are you really here in front of me? You gulped and held his hands, putting them on your cheek. I'm here, in front of you. He wasted no time in pulling you in his arms. He wept, burying his face in the crook of your neck, sat on his lap and stroked his head. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry I hurted you aloud. He shook his head and moved his head back to meet your eyes. I am sorry. You are right. I shouldn't have left that day. Only if I was there, our baby would be alive. I am the one to be blamed. You shook your head and placed your forehead against his. No, it's not your fault. I didn't mean those words. I said it because I want you to leave me. He frowned in confusion. I want you to marry someone who can give you happiness, unlike me, who only gave you pain and became the reason of your sadness. Someone who can give you a child. He cradled your face between his palms and gave you a disapproving look. How can you even think like this, Ryan? I only love you and I'll always love you, no matter how much we fight, how much we suffer. I ain't leaving you, not today, not tomorrow, never. Get this inside your head. Brought your face closer to his and placed it back on the tip of your nose. Is it necessary for a couple to have a child? Can't we live happily without a kid? Are we not enough for each other? But you love kids. Not more than you. I don't love anyone more than you. Please stop hurting me and yourself. Let's just be happy with each other. Let's just forget about pain and build happy memories together. I'm tired of seeing you crying. Please smile for me. You wiped your tears and smiled. He smiled and placed a kiss on your forehead. I don't need anything but you, Ryan. Kick me, slap me, beat me, but never push me away again. I can endure anything but this. This is the first and last time you didn't let me come closer to you. If you dare to do it again, I will kidnap you and handcuff you with me. And I'm not joking. Smile and hugged him, keeping your head on his chest. A contented sigh escaped your lips as his warmth sprayed through your body. This was what you needed. Him. Stupid of you to push him away thinking he would leave you. How would he when his heart strings attached with yours? He, in his whole form, dedicated himself to you. He couldn't think about anyone else, let alone starting a new life with them. Sleep got disturbed by some whispers. Opening your eyes, you witnessed your husband and your son Ruvun whispering something to your 8 months old baby bump. Ruvun was your adopted son, whom you adopted after a year of your miscarriage. It wasn't easy for you to cope up with the pain, but with Taehyung by your side, you found your happiness again. Come soon, then we both will travel, Mama. Taehyung chuckled, prompting sweet giggles from the 3 years old boy. Rufun, I heard that. He flinched when you suddenly spoke. He grinned and crawled towards your face. Mama, I love you. You showered your face with kisses. Well, Taehyung had perfectly taught him how to coax you. You smiled and peppered his face with kisses, prodding fits of giggles from him. Dad also loves Mama and his little ball of mischief. He embraced you both, leaving a pack on the top of your head. Breakfast is ready. Hearing Maria's call for breakfast, Ruven slid down the bed. Mama, I'll bring your food here. He rushed outside, smiled at his cuteness and looked at Taehyung. You have turned him into a gentleman like you. Of course I have to. After all, he's going to be big brother of a girl. You smiled and placed a kiss on his cheek. He scrunched his nose and pointed at his lips. You giggle and lean towards his lips, but before your lips could touch his, Rowan called out, Dad, help me. Taehyung groaned and packed your lips. There's still a lot I need to teach him. Dad, coming. He placed a quick pack on your forehead and rushed out of the room. Sighed and kissed your baby bump where your daughter was actively moving. I'm eagerly waiting for you, but more than me, your father and brother are excited. I hope they don't forget me once you came in this world. You chuckled at your own childish words and looked at the picture hanging on the wall. You smiled as you read the quote written on it.